All right, we're back and we're going to have a fun project today. This is a Milwaukee 2H plain mill. This is the same air as my K&T that you see in all my other videos. That is a 2HL and this is a plain 2H plain. This table configuration, meaning the slots width and spacing are all exactly the same, this mill to that mill. But the table has a wider flange and it's longer, and the knee is more massive and it has a more depth to it. The overarms are larger in diameter, and this has a 50 taper versus the other one having a 40. Pretty much the rest of the machine is pretty close to the same. I purchased this on my phone with a text from a friend. He's picking up other machinery. He shows me a picture of this. Hey, you interested? $700. Pretty much any running piece of equipment of this size, mill, lathe, or whatever, is gonna be worth $700. There has to be something drastically wrong with it to not be worth it. And today we're gonna find out if my $700 is worth it, or am I gonna pick this up with a forklift and take it across the street and scrap it at the scrapyard. All right. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun project to go through and share with you, because I have so many viewers that do ask me about equipment. I always believe you should go put your hands on it, run it, get the feel of it, run it through the gears, make sure you know exactly what is good or not on it before you make that final choice of buying it. So basically I just kind of invested that $700 to, is it or isn't it? And it's for you. All right. Outside we pressure washed this and we cleaned out the sump, and then we brought it in here. This was about a couple months ago, just before I started slowing down on my videos. Life got in the way. By the way, this is the only reason. I have some things that I had to do, or my frame of mind was not set on being able to edit videos and create videos. Just plain and simple as that. Not that I'm planning on stopping or anything else. It just happened. So anyway, this is dried out, and that's one of the most important things, is because we pressure washed inside here, and we pressure washed the magnetic starter and everything, and I know moisture went in, probably the switch and everything else. So now everything is pretty well dried out again, and these belts are chewy, and there's only two on here. But we should be able to get this thing to going around, because basically we want to run it. We want to make sure the gears are going all through the motions, and the speeds are all sound in there. All right. So basically we kind of got a good look at it, and then we're just grabbing the belt tension, and we're seeing the motor jiggle around, because something kind of looked a little off when I was glancing in it. We're going to go over to the other side, and I'm going to actually show you something that we're going to have to put together before we actually put an electric cord to this thing and fire it up. All right, so let's move in a little closer. We're going to go over to the other side, and then I'm going to show you a couple mishaps, because while I was pressure washing this outside, the sight glass for the oil level blew out, and then I had to put a temporary patch in on that so oil wouldn't run out of the machine. So right in the middle, it's lucky that a couple months ago it was cold enough to where that oil was pouring out like tar oil, and I was able to go ahead and pull 3 screws real quick and pop in a patch and put it together. And we're going to pull that out again, so we're going to see how fast we can get that changed out, so we can watch the fluid. We want to make sure that the internal pumps are pumping out the fluid as well. All right, so let's move on. Okay, we come over to this other side of the motor. And it's actually, I'm really glad that I was able to spray in here because I needed to be able to see in here. And that rubber belt really had thrown a lot of stuff around. Okay, the jack screw's over here. But see how that thing pivots like that? See this right here? Just happens to be sitting in there. Okay, this is the pivot pin for the front side of the motor adjustment. So we got to get a bar. We're going to get a pinch bar in here. We're going to lift this up. And we're going to get that back into its area. And then there's a square set screw right there that locks that down into place. And evidently that wasn't locked down in there. And hopefully we can still adjust that down. It looks like a lock nut right there. And then that thread. We'll just make sure that that's all fine, and then we'll move on to the next part of setting this thing up so we can run it. Okay, we had to block this. We brought this screw up and then adjusted it till we had the height, and then lightly tapped that in. We locked that screw down, and then we went ahead and we locked that nut there, and we're holding a little bit of tension on it. We didn't let all the weight off of this. We just want it to be easy. We can tighten it up if we want, but those belts are in such bad shape that I want to run them lightly tensioned. Okay, we're all buttoned up in here. Let's look at the sight gauges. Okay, this sight gauge is just a rubber, I cut a rubber disc and I put it in here just so that I could get something in there. And actually it kind of sucked it into that little area right there because the rubber's probably not 100% compatible there. It was just a sheet I had. This was the lens, which is just a really cheap piece of plastic that somebody cut out so that they could create a window. All right, the pressure washer blew right through that. These two I pulled out of this window up here, and I measured it, and online I purchased a bag full of these 1/8 thick lenses, and they are just a tiny skosh bigger than it needs to be to fit in there. So I'm gonna take 3 of them, and I'm gonna sand this outside edge until I know that they fit in there. All right, and then we're gonna have some nice sight gauges that it's gonna do the job. We're gonna be able to see the flow. We need to see the level. We need to see the flow here. The other sight gauge is way over. Let's see. Let's move you on over here. This sight gauge here in the knee, this actually shows you the level plus a flow right here. Here's the fill for that, and then the fill for the other one is in the back underneath the spindle tensioning hole on the back side. Okay, we sanded the outside and we test fit in the port up at the top there, and we're going to go ahead see what we can do here. And this is probably no more than about the same of having your packing gland fall out of the shaft while you're running your boat. It's not going to sink the boat. We have a pan down there that's going to catch anything that leaks out. So we're really not worried about it. And we can take these out by hand, and we're holding the pressure of the ring. Okay, and we have this ready. All right, that's about as much as we're going to leak down. Okay, and it looks like there's more oil in there than needs to be because it just completely filled up that thing. It's really only supposed to be about halfway on here. See, there's 2 lines right there, high and low. We're going to take another little rag here. We're going to see if we can wipe that I don't know if it's going to make it any brighter. All right. We're going to go ahead and put it in there. We know it's over full. This is probably thicker plexiglass than we need. There we go. The screw took off somewhere. There it is. Okay. Hey, so glad. Okay, high, low, and you can see that it's overfilled. Somebody might have done that, because if you don't hook these machines up and go in the forward direction, you're not going to get oil flowing, and you're also not going to get your clutch to ride on the feed. All right. We can go ahead and change out the top one now. We could actually use these thick gauges, but you can machine, set it up, do a friction drive, and machine them for the flange or that surface that makes contact on the outside, so that it'll sort of register it, and the glass will come inside there. Everything that seals is on the other side. All right, so that gauge is mounted, or that glass is mounted. Let's go ahead and do the one in the knee now. Okay, let's see here, just in case we need a little light here. All right. Getting the screwdriver slot clear is half your battle on getting these screws out of here. Okay. We're going to lay the tray down here. We've already got that sump cleaned out. We don't need to add any more oil if we don't need in there. And I don't really want to have to worry about how much pours out of here. I don't think it would hurt to actually have to put some fresh stuff in here. Ouch. There we go. Oh yeah, there is a sight gauge there. Look how sad that was. Okay. And that actually, look at it, it's up to that high right there. Come on. Come on out. Go ahead and drain some of this out. This looks like some thick ash oil too. I like to run #2 hydraulic oil in my machines. Okay, that's still way too much oil in this thing. You're supposed to see it drip out of this, and that level's only supposed to be halfway in there. If you have it too high, you don't know if it's actually flowing. Might as well clean that out a little bit. Let some of that paint and everything else that's in there. Okay, it's just starting to get down to the drip. Glad I thought about that pan before I started this. It is real close, but I want to make sure that I can see it pouring out of that. Most of the time somebody ain't running it high enough. This is okay. I'll be able to see it drip from there. Ouch. See the level, see the arrows? It's only supposed to be half full. Okay, perfect. We can see the level right there, and we can look in the window and we can see it coming through the port. See? All right. Now let's put some electrical to it. All right, we're hot wired up to this breaker right here, and we're going to go ahead and start the 3-phase. We're going to trip that breaker. All right, so far so good. All right, I left the door open here. We're going to want to see this thing go counterclockwise, and we're disengaged. It's free running. We pushed in the reset on the back, and let's push the start and see. We're going to bump it. Okay, it's going the right direction. All right, I am pretty sure that that's the belts. I'm going to turn it on and off a little bit at a time. Okay, let's look for oil flow. We have oil flow on the main sump here, and we have oil flow on the knee. Rotation down there. Okay. Next thing I want to look at, actually we're going to bring you in a little closer. That belt's pretty iffy. Okay, this is the rapid belt, drive here that feeds the knee, and this here is what feeds the coolant pump once it's engaged in gear. Okay, and I believe I don't want the coolant pump to run, so I'm going to lift that little collar right there. I think the pump is my pump is frozen up, and it might take a little bit to free that up, but I'm glad I just checked that. You want to make sure you don't have that engaged, because when you go to try to put it in to spindle motion, that will rotate. All right, here we go. All right, we're going to engage the spindle. You'll see the clutch bring out, and you'll see the coolant pump turning. Okay, so far all of that sounds good. I didn't even check to see what speed we're in. Okay, we're running, that's 195. Okay. Let's go ahead. We're just going to switch this over to high. This is going to be 1400 RPMs. Okay, we're going to switch it on over. We're just kind of going down the line here. That's 1800. 153. Okay, we're going to come right on down to real low speed here. Okay, that's 35. Every once in a while I gotta look over here because one belt's better than the other. The one on the inside is really flopping. Okay, I just brought you in so you can see the spindle turning here, and I'm just going through the gears. Okay, now I'm not going to run it very far. I'm going to squirt some jism underneath there. Okay, the feed is working. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try for a little up and down. Let me get that. I'm going to get that wet. Okay, that'll give us a good look at the rust ball is behind there. Okay, that's all the way down. Did hit the stops. Okay, that's always. Actually, it's not bad on the dovetail on the back side here. But it doesn't mean that it can't be cleaned up. There's no chips or breaks. I actually had a chip and a breakout area on mine. Okay, let's bring it on up. Okay. Let's go ahead and run it in and out. Make sure there's no lock on here, okay. Boy, these ways look pretty good behind here. I'm gonna have to get a couple pictures of that. Those ways look good. Those ways look pretty good also. The worst you saw was the backside of here. Okay, and the stops are working. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to take a couple pictures here of the ways. A little rusty, but they can be cleaned up, and you need to put some new wipers and a few other things in it. The tabletop's got a rust coating on it. In and out handle is perfectly fine. Up and down handle, the stem is broken off and the handle's missing. I'm going to be able to recreate that without dismantling this. I already figured out how I'll go about putting a stub on here and creating the handle section just like the other K&T. The end table handle is bent. The handles broke off, but the spring mechanism in here is just frozen. Needs to be freed up, handle straightened out, and knob or hand crank added on there. New set of belts. Change out the fluids. This machine actually is operational, with minimum amount of work and cleanup on it. So it's worthy to hang on to or pass on to somebody that might want to offer me a fair dollar for it. But until then, I'll go ahead and put it in storage. All right. That was pretty interesting, and some things that you got to pay attention to before you can fire the thing off and safely fire it off. All right, I'm going to disconnect my cord and kind of put it in a position that I know that I'm going to want to store it in. Might do a few other things to it before I store it. I want to point out that the first thing I did once it came in here, and I wanted to go ahead and free up the rams. Now, it only took me about an hour to free up these rams. On the other small K&T, it took me almost 2 months to free those rams up. One, you can't just go beating on them, and you got to let the oil soak in there, and you got to free up the rust and things like that. This has a hand crank on it. The other one doesn't. You have to push the things back and forth. I can pull the handle in and out, and I can do one or the other. But as a pair, that's kind of a nice feature. And then you can lock them down. So that's the K&T #2 Plain. All right, until next time, get it done.